Morning, everyone. We're learning Mishna is Tainus, Perek Dalet, Chapter 4, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Yesterday's Mishnah, we mentioned Ma'amados, which yesterday we translated as groups of people who are appointed to pray for the acceptance of the public offerings. And now the Mishnah is going to explain us exactly what the Ma'amados are. This is where we get it from. Elohein Ma'amados. These are the Ma'amados. Ma'amados can be translated as gatherings, but we'll refer to as Ma'amados because it was a specific group of people that gathered. Elohein Ma'amados. These are the Ma'amados, meaning, what's the point of them? Lafi shenemar, to the Torah states, Tzav es b'nei Yisrael v'yamarto leihem es karbani lachmi. Command the children of Israel and tell them my offering. This verse is where the Torah commands us to bring the carbon tamid, the daily sacrifice, which consisted of 2 lambs, one brought in the morning, one brought in the afternoon. That was an obligation. That was the Torah tells the Jewish people to bring it. It's a communal sacrifice. As a communal sacrifice, we're all owners in it, which is why there was a mitzvah to give a half shekel, every year as being part of the communal sacrifices. That's how you, so to speak, got your share. Now, it's not like if you didn't give the shekel, you didn't have a share, because we learned previously in the tractate of Mishnayos that deals with shkalim that even if your shekel didn't get there to the Beis Hamikdash in time, you still had a portion in it, but this is the way it was supposed to be. You were supposed to get your portion by giving the half shekel. Now, being that it is everybody's sacrifice, the Mishnah continues and says, how could a person be bringing a sacrifice without being present by it? We know from the Torah, we have a source that when you bring a sacrifice, you need to be present. Now, if this is a sacrifice, these are sacrifices of all the Jewish people, then how do we have this? How do we have all the Jewish people there? You can't fit all the Jewish people at one time in the Beis Hamikdash. They can't all be present at the same time. They can't all be present in the temple courtyard at one time. So therefore, there must be some other way of being able to deal with this. So therefore, the Mishnah says, Heskinu Neviim Harishonim, the early prophets, specifically here referring to the prophet Shmuel, Samuel, and David Melech, King David. They instituted Esrim Va'arba Mishmaris, 24 Mishmaris, 24 groups. These groups consisted of the Kohanim and the Leviim. They were divided into 24 groups, and these groups, 24 groups. They would have their week, which they did the service in the Beis Hamikdash. Now, along with that, I'll call Mishmar Umishmar, along with each group of the Kohanim and the Leviim, Hayamayim Yerushalayim. There was a gathering of Yerushalayim, Shel Kohanim, Shel Leviim, Shel Yisraelim. You had a gathering not only of the Kohanim and the Leviim, who had to be there anyway to do the service in the Beis Hamikdash, but you also had a group of Yisraelim, non-Kohanim or Leviim, that also gathered together to be in Yerushalayim. And the explanation here is the Yisraelim of the Jewish people were also divided into 24 groups, which were called Ma'amados. That is what it means that along with the Mishmar of each Mishmar, there was a Maimer, there was a gathering of Yisraelim. And each Maimer of Yisraelim was linked to a Mishmar of Kohanim and Leviim. When it was the turn of a Mishmar of Kohanim and Leviim to serve in the Beis Hamikdash, the corresponding Maimed of Yisraelim joined them there. It was the task of these Yisraelim to stand by the Tamid, the daily sacrifice, when it was offered. They did so on behalf of the entire Jewish people. Thus, through the actions of the Maimed, all members of the Jewish people fulfilled their obligation to stand by the Tamid. Using the concept called shlichus, I can be an agent for someone, and my agent is like I'm there. Therefore, these Yisraelim that were part of this group called Ma'amados, and again, you had a group of Yisraelim corresponding to the Kohanim and Leviim who came to do the service in the Beis Hamikdash, their job was to be the shluchim, the agents of the Jewish people, to be present at the offering of the carbon tamid. Now, the Mishnah then continues and says like this: Higia zman hamishmar lalos. When it came time for the mishmar to go up to Yerushalayim, they were leaving from wherever they were to go to Yerushalayim. Kohanim uleviim olam Yerushalayim. You had Kohanim and Leviim who went to Yerushalayim. The Yisrael sheba'is mishmar, and the Yisraelim of that mishmar, meaning that were linked to that group, miskansin l'Areyan, they would gather in their cities, the karbamai seberatius, and read from the creation of the world. Now, what the Mishnah here is saying is as we just said before, there were Yisraelim that were meant to be present at the offering, at the daily offering. That means they were there in Yerushalayim. Here the Mishnah mentions Yisraelim that are gathering in their cities. Are they in Yerushalayim or they're their cities? The answer is you had a group of Yisraelim that went to Yerushalayim. Those who were near Yerushalayim went to Yerushalayim to be present at the offering of the daily sacrifice. But even Yisraelim that were not, that didn't live by, weren't able to be present in Yerushalayim, they were still part of a maimah. They were still linked to this group of Kohanim and Leviim. And what they did, or part of what they did, we'll learn more about what they did, but part of what they did was they came together where they were and they read from the Torah. That's what they did. They had these group of this, every week you had your group of people who came together to read from the Torah. Which section of the Torah? From the creation of the world. Why the creation of the world? To bring out the point that the world's existence, the world needs for its existence, the world needs for its continuity, it needs sacrifices. And to bring out that point, we read from the creation of the world to bring out the point that the creation of the world needs the sacrifices. Now you may ask, now we don't have sacrifices, what do we have in its place? The answer is we have prayer in its place. But what was meant to be was that we should have sacrifices, and sacrifices help the world to be able to continue to exist in its proper form. The world was created, and one of the foundations, one of the things that keeps the world going are the sacrifices. And to bring up that point, these Yisraelim would gather together and read from the Torah. And it wasn't just the Yisraelim who were in the cities that gathered to read the Torah. The Yisraelim that were in Yerushalayim also gathered together to read from the Torah. So the Mamad, again, what we call the Mamades, those who came together, the Yisraelim of those groups, some of them were present at the sacrifices, representing the Jewish people, and all of them at some point were going to be reading from the Torah from the creation. And again, it's not all the Jewish people at the same time. You had groups of the Jewish people divided into groups, 24 groups, linked to the 24 groups of the Kohanim and Leviim of that week that did the service in the Beis Hamikdash. Have a wonderful day, wonderful Shabbos.